Hello, and welcome to Michael's Minty Music for today. Today we review Taylor Swift's self-titled debut 2006 album. It's alright, although I don't really like the genre and style of it as much as her other work. It's very impressive that she wrote all of these songs as a teenager, though, and the fact that they're still pretty decent is quite impressive in my opinion. This is the track listing, and these are the tracks I added to my playlist. 6 out of 11, just one over half. The more interesting songs, in my opinion, are on the back half of the album, which is generally more varied in both style and mood. If not for the second track, Picture to Burn, the first half of the album would basically be entirely slow and mid-tempo, sort of sad-ish lyrically songs. The album doesn't really pick up any speed until the 7th or 8th track, and at that point it's almost already over. But that does manage to hold it out through to the end of the album. Should Have Said No really puts in work to make the back half of the album like really good, in my opinion, and not just sort of alright. And overall, it's decent, but I gotta say, the fact that I don't really like the first couple of tracks because they're country, pop, and sad really limits how I feel about this album. There was only one single released before the album, the first track, Tim McGraw. And then the songs on the radio were Our Song, Should Have Said No, and Teardrops on My Guitar. And they were on varieties of both country and pop radio at the time. So kind of a dual thing there. My favorite song here, though, is probably Picture to Burn. It's a weird sort of song. It is kind of a traditional rock song that leans into country, which I do kind of like. It has an older feel to it in terms of both country and rock, which is a bit interesting and refreshing. It sounds like something that might have been made in sort of the 60s, but in the country 60s, not in the sort of rock 60s. So that's pretty interesting, and I do think it is one of her better songs. Now, I rank this my least favorite out of all of Taylor Swift's albums, mostly because of the genre of the album. It's full of country pop tracks that I don't really like, although it is kind of ironic. I probably only don't like those songs because the style was so prevalent when I was growing up. Which is kind of because of this album and others like that made the genre super popular. But I do think Taylor Swift really improved on pretty much every album afterwards, and it's not really surprising that, you know, the album she released when she was 16 isn't quite as good as the ones that she released when she was an adult. So I feel like this spot is not really unsurprising. Although additionally, this album doesn't take my top spot from 2006. That goes to Pink's 2006 album, I'm Not Dead, which is by a more experienced artist and is really just a better put together album, in my opinion. And it really helps that I like the style a lot more. Next up is Train's 2014 album, Bulletproof Picasso. It's pretty good. It's a really solid album from them, especially in the early 2000s. So stay tuned for that, and as always, stay minty.